Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
This is Season 3, Episode 24.
Or Episode 70 if you're counting.
And it's our season finale.
Yay!
Alright, we go.
We made it 70 episodes. Yay!
So we're going to be off broadcast for the next 4 weeks. Again, we'll come back on October 30th. It'll be a special Halloween-themed episode, hopefully.
Hopefully.
I hope we can do some costumes. That'd be great.
I'm gonna try. I've been looking into it.
I want to see your guys' costumes, actually.
You know what? We should make that a thing.
We should make that a thing. I'm making that a thing right now. If you're going to be having a costume ready for Halloween that you're going to be wearing around on
tweet it at us.
Yeah, send it to us. And we always say it at the end of the episode, but tweet it to us. We'll say it right now. I'm at Mars Girl.
And I'm at Josh Knight First. So, you guys tweet us with your Halloween costumes, and you know what? We'll judge them for you.
Well, I don't know about judge them, but at least display them.
Or, okay, one of those two.
Or a combination of the two.
Yeah,
we
get to judge you guys, because nobody judges me! They don't. Nobody. I want to give, once again, as always, a special thanks to our patrons over at patreon.com/MarsGirl. I want to give an update as well for another user who had been a patron for a few weeks now, but she also had a link to her particular project that she wanted to be linking to, which is her DeviantArt account. Very good art over at brenzy.deviantart.com. Go check it out, you guys. And we'll have more updates on different things for you come next season as well. Yes. And, of course, it's no surprise that over the course of that 4 weeks off, we're going to be doing a lot of work on the Famicom Writer Completion Project, which, again, we got to thank you guys so much. We've gotten so much done this past week with you guys sending stuff in. We're getting a lot of stuff done on our end, and we're about ready to show you guys some of what we've been working on, some of the completed pieces and the cast list. So be on the lookout for that stuff.
I'm glad to say that we've about got a filming schedule down that includes people coming in from outside our city. That's a really big detail we needed to hammer out, and that's finally getting hammered out at this point.
But all that being said, we got a show tonight.
Yep, one more show for this season. So, and we got a lot of things we want to talk about. Not just these major stories, because actually, quite frankly, we just kind of want to go off on things that we've heard throughout the week. But there are major ones that we'll probably spend the most time on. Those being, for example, Kickstarter has amended their rules for launching a project, and if you happen to not be able to complete said project, there are now actual repercussions, because there've just been so many people who have just decided, you know what, I'm gonna ask for all this money and then
not really give you anything in return.
Yeah, and not finish what I was promising you guys. So, thankfully, there's more news on Kickstarter doing something about that.
Our second story is going to be this week. We saw the premiere of Gotham over on Fox, debuting to huge numbers, and we're going to talk a bit about how well that did in the ratings, what that means for the season coming, and whether or not we're going to see a pickup for seasons 2 and beyond.
And then finally, Tetsuya Nomura of Square Enix, who has just left the Final Fantasy 15 project, had some words to say about Kingdom Hearts 3, since that's where they have now placed him, back focusing mainly on Kingdom Hearts 3. And so I'm going to be giving a discussion on what that means for Kingdom Hearts 3, and what that means for Final Fantasy 15 now that he is gone. And I know I talked about Final Fantasy 15 at some length last week, but there's been just this surprising amount of wealth of information about said project that's come up since then.
Right. So we're definitely going to get to those stories, but like she said, we've got a lot of follow-ups here, or a lot of stuff to talk about these follow-ups. So we're going to get right into it. First and foremost, the biggest thing for me anyway. So we had talked a bit about the Power Rangers reboot movie, which is set to come out just a few years from now in 2016. Well, as it turns out, the main backer behind it, Robert Orci, who is also a producer for the Star Trek reboot movies, I guess it's fair to call them that, has dropped out of his producer position.
But to focus on Star
Trek.
The third one.
The third one in this current series.
I'm calling it Star Trek the third one.
Yeah, Star Trek the third one. Which is a fair enough thing. You know, he was working on that first, and then he comes to work on Power Rangers, and now he's going back. You know what? I need to devote my time to this fully. We need to flesh this out.
Sounds like Tetsuya Nomura to me.
Well, not exactly, and you'll see the comparison there. Because that's just a producer position. He's not directing, not doing anything like that.
Well, being a producer is really freaking important. Director says, okay, this stuff needs to get done, but the producer has a vision that he directly executes.
Well, even then, it's not the worst thing in the world. Like, if the director... Because right now they don't have a director. Let's get that clear right now. If the director had left, then I would see that as a bigger problem. Producer, you can replace a producer and that not have that be as big of a problem.
I suppose that's true.
Because, yeah, producers have say, but directors are the ones with the vision. When we see who's directing this, then I'll start to be worried about a different topic. But mainly this means a guy who had a lot of pull is no longer there anymore.
That's true.
So, whether or not this is good or bad, I say it's too early in the game for them to call it one way or the other.
Yeah, a lot of things in regards to this Power Rangers movie really are too early to say anything, really, other than, yeah, it exists and there's a name or two tied to it.
Yeah, we still got script writers. We don't have a cast. We certainly don't have a director. Now, we don't have a producer, but we know that they're really still pushing for this thing to get out there. Now, when it's early enough like this, I'm not too worried about it. If this had been going on for several months of, oh, we're flipping back and forth with names and pushback dates, things of that nature, then I'd be a little worried, which brings me to our next follow-up, which was that Fantastic Four and Assassin's Creed, both movies have been pushed back. One worse than the other. Fantastic Four got pushed back 2 months.
2 months isn't a whole heck of a lot.
No, that's not too bad. They got pushed back from June 16th of next year to August 7th of next year.
It sounds more like they don't want to compete against something.
Well, yeah, that's fine, because based off, specifically based off Guardians of the Galaxy, they did great numbers in August for the first time in real recent movie history, and then, of course, Turtles topped that. But they were trying to prove, hey, we can make money in August, because most people are like, no, you don't really debut in August. You kind of leave your so-so movies out there, but those two did very impressive numbers at the box office, so they're kind of figuring, well, this is a known title, we can kind of get out there first and claim that August money.
Right.
Okay, so fine, that's not too bad, because that's still technically summer, as far as I'm concerned. The worst thing about that is Assassin's Creed, which had a release date, but now, nothing. To be determined.
Oh, that sounds more like development hell.
Exactly, that puts it into development hell, and I'm like, no! Why would you do that? You had Michael Fassbender attached. Like, forget the fact that whether or not he can play Altair or Ezio or whoever they were going to get him to play, in that, you know, he's a fine enough actor, he can play whatever he wants just about, but when you get to the TBD, that's dreaded after you had a release date.
Yeah, that's really like, freaking scary.
That's almost like a death sentence as far as I'm concerned for the project. And if any current game title could be adapted into a movie, I could see that working because it's already a very cinematic nature in those games.
Very
they tell
true,
a very linear story. It's got a lot of impressive stuff. They've already done the hard parts.
You can go a lot of places, but the story itself is very... You don't really branch off.
Right, exactly. So
because it's supposed to be, quote-unquote, historical. Like, there's only so much that you can change.
But even then, you know, that... I personally was kind of steeping my hopes on, you know, this might take the stigma away from video game movies. And now, what do you got? We got nothing. So we're going to have to wait and see whether or not they pick up a new date or it's just going to stay there and be doomed to development hell for the rest of movie eternity. Okay, and then moving on to the next thing we talked about last week. I talked in my segment about, you know, DC properties moving on to other networks and things of that nature, and that Supergirl was a name that had been thrown out there, and I had proposed that CBS should pick it up. Well, lo and behold, not 24 hours later, we get the confirmation that CBS did, in fact, make a series commitment to Supergirl. Called it.
Well, good job.
Yes.
Go ahead, stroke that ego, Josh.
Where's the cat? I'll stroke the cat.
She's asleep. Leave her alone.
Oh, now she wants to sleep. Most episodes she'll come walk right here, but no, now she wants to sleep when I actually want to pet her. Selfish cat.
You know she only wants your attention when you don't want her attention.
Yeah, that's how it works, pretty much. But yes, that means that indeed the major networks now all have superheroes attached to them. NBC's got Constantine, Fox
because
has...
it's the cool money-making thing right now.
Yeah, that's the cool money-making thing, and frankly, CBS losing How I Met Your Mother, they're going to need something to make up for the ratings, so easy money, superhero show. People will watch it. Now, people will watch it, and this will tie into one of our major stories later, but will it be good? That's the question.
Too early to say. Still not enough information.
No.
Too early to say.
It's just that they've got a tall order to live up to now, since we've got all of these shows now. Because it's fair to say now that CBS has one, even before that show is debuted, the market is saturated now.
Very true. Do you think it's getting to a point where it's oversaturated, though?
Oversaturated would be more like if you're going the CW route, where you have multiple superhero shows on the network. If you've just got one to each, and they've all got their distinct flavor, then I don't think you got to worry about it too much. But when you start having multiple shows, and then those shows cross over with other shows, and then this, that, and the other happens, it kind of becomes this big old ball of bleh. And nobody wants a big old ball of bleh, because then you'll change the channel to Dancing with the Stars or something.
I won't.
Well, I'm saying whatever takes your mind and eyes off that. They'll go to Netflix and watch something else.
I hear you.
So there's that story. Next up in line, we had talked before about the Xbox One debuting in Japan. It ain't doing so hot.
No, it's surprisingly doing really quite awful.
Yes. They only, in its first 4 days, they only sold a little over 25,000 units in comparison to 60,000 on the 360, and that was back in 2005.
Yeah, and we've had this discussion before, too, that Japan really ended up not liking the Xbox.
They don't want to put the support behind it for some reason.
No, not really. And really, it's kind of surprising. Hironobu Sakaguchi, who is the creator of Final Fantasy, he went off and started his own company, Mistwalker.
Yeah.
And he launched with Blue Dragon. And that launched... It was a Microsoft-released title, as in... that
was for the 360.
Well, yeah, not just that it was for the 360, but it was made by Mistwalker, but produced under Microsoft Studios.
Right.
So, like, they were going all hardcore for Microsoft all the way. And man, I was at that Tokyo Game Show that year.
Yeah, you've told me this.
And the line for that Blue Dragon booth was just... fantastic.
Well, because you have to tie on to that. Not only was it Hironobu Sakaguchi working on it, it was Akira Toriyama art.
Akira Toriyama art, Nobuo Uematsu music.
Yeah, so
it was
that's
the trifecta.
Exactly. You know? So that's why that sells.
Yeah. So it was like it just sort of felt like, man, this console could do something with the right people behind it in its respective country. But in the end, they just quit working with Xbox 360s after a while. Nobody wanted it. And so now, not only was the launch of the Xbone abysmal in Japan, but then in the coming weeks, the weeks following, they went down to selling only a little over 3,000 Xbox Ones in its second week, and then this week, only a little over 1,000.
That's terrible.
This past
That's
week.
40 cakes terrible.
And that's terrible. But last week when they were selling 3,000, apparently there were more than twice the number of PS3s sold.
And nearly...
PS3, that's last generation. And nearly 8 times the number of PS4 consoles sold. So, okay, clearly... Microsoft's got a bit of a problem in Japan.
At this point, it's like, no, you might as well get out of the foreign market now. Save yourself the trouble, because you're not making that money up. The only way you're making that money up is if somehow you release the next Dragon Quest game exclusively for the Xbone. Otherwise, you're not making that back. Because you know that's not going to happen.
No, likely not. It's got to be something, so like, it's just about got to be Silent Hills. level of Xbox One exclusivity.
Exactly, because once they see the option for the PS4, nobody's going to care. They're going to go straight to it.
Yeah, like, why would I want to buy this foreign piece of crap when my local piece of crap works so much better and I already have it?
Local pieces of crap versus foreign pieces of crap. I love it. And then, okay, moving on to other news. We've got a lot more updates for Kamen Rider Drive, the show that will be debuting in 2 weeks to replace Kamen Rider Gaim. We've got a lot more information on the bad guys, namely the bad guy Chase, who will kind of sort of be the secondary writer in the series. Now, he can actually be called writer in name as well because he's got a transformation device and he's got a bike.
Wow. What a concept.
Yeah, I know, what a concept. And you look at this guy, granted, it's obvious he's one of the monsters. He's kind of funky looking. He's got kind of a purple-black motif, but if you look under all the junk on his face, you can kind of see the regular Rider outline there. You know, mouth cover, compound eyes, what have you. And in that form, he'll be known as Machine Chaser. So he's not actually called Kamen Rider something.
That's all right.
The thing I'm wondering about it is, based off the description they give here, he is one of the bad guys who his specific task is to take out Drive, you know, fight him. But his job is also to punish the other bad guys that don't follow orders. Meaning,
so he's gonna be a good guy.
Essentially, that makes him a good guy.
Do you think that some of that ugly, gnarly crap that's all over his design will, like, come off later then?
See, that's a theory I'm having right now, because when you can clearly see orange compound eyes under there, under kind of the more traditional motif, if they turn this guy full good guy later on down the road, say, like, episode 25-ish, somewhere around that point, yeah, I could see them taking a lot of that metal crap off him, and then smoothing out the design.
I would imagine that's what they would be going for, too.
I would kind of think so there. And that would be alright, you know, turning a bad guy into a good guy. That's not the first time they would have done that. The whole, he's a bad guy, but he ends up fighting his own guys, that's very Saga from Kamen Rider Kiva. Yeah, he's the head of the bad guys, but more often than not, he ended up killing his own men. Which essentially makes him a good guy. You know, so if we're revisiting that motif, that's fine. We've got a couple of looks at 2 other abilities that Drive himself will have, where he puts on a gray tire and it spits out concrete. Or he puts on a yellow tire and he can kind of use portal power.
What?
I don't know. The way they describe it is that he puts it on and then he can kind of reach himself out through another portal.
So he's wizard?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's the way that seems to be working. I'm like, no, we already tried this. Yeah, and even then, he didn't use that to nearly as big effect, you know?
Okay, I'm done with this.
Yeah, so we'll all see how that plays out in 2 weeks when Drive premieres. Of course, you're going to have to talk to us on Twitter to see what we think about that, because we'll be on vacation.
Vacay.
All right. So those are all our follow-up stories. Let's get to our meat tonight.
What was our first meat? Oh yeah, Kickstarter meat. So, this Kickstarter meat...
meat you paid for that hopefully you get once it's completed.
And if not, now I can sue you. Actually, that's part of the details.
That is part of the details.
So yes, Kickstarter has changed their terms regarding people who start Kickstarter projects
and then don't finish.
And then don't finish them, and they are unable to fulfill rewards or what have you. Thank God, because people have been complaining about that a lot lately. And it's really sad because Kickstarters and Indiegogo, you know, crowdfunding is a very legitimate way to get some really good underground ideas up and actually have them move forward and go somewhere, and then not ever have to ask people for money ever again, except in purchasing their products.
Exactly.
But it's always the bad apples, man. They're always the ones ruining everything. So, Kickstarter themselves have finally started to step in. Now, granted, they themselves are still not taking the responsibility for people who create projects and are unable to complete said projects, which I think is fine. I don't think it's going to be their fault if somebody uses their product and then they can't deliver. It's not Kickstarter's fault by any means. But the best that they can do, and I'm really glad that they're doing this, is that, for example, you might be subject to legal action by backers, meaning if you back a project and that project just completely and utterly fails and they're just like, sorry, bro.
Right, they can't get away with that
anymore. They can't get away with that, and you legally have the right to sue them to either get your money back or to get the product you asked for or the rewards that you asked for. Because previously the terms were pretty vague about, you can't do that, you have to fulfill it. Okay, well, what happens if you don't?
The problem with that was people were using those vague terms up until now as the legal loophole of, sorry, bro, I can't help you there. Which is part of why people would prefer going to, say, Indiegogo over Kickstarter and things like that, because of the vagueness there. Mm-hmm. You want security, now Kickstarter has added that security.
So Kickstarter's also enforcing that you basically have to be pretty dang transparent as you're presenting these projects. You have to basically fill out this checklist of things in order to have a very open relationship between you and your backers. You've got this project list to fulfill backer rewards, and you have to explain where the money is going and how it's being used. You have to keep them updated, make every reasonable effort to complete the project as promised. And then if they fail, they offer to return any remaining funds to the backers who have not received their reward in proportion to the amounts that they pledged. Or if they can't do that, do their best to fulfill some end of their bargain and not just drop off the face of the planet. So
it's making sure you get something for your donation, which is really what you're giving in the first place for. You want to make sure the money is going towards something.
Of course. And I think that it is really fantastic that Kickstarter themselves is implementing, while they can only do so much, they're showing, hey, there is risk involved, not just for the backers, but for you as the project developer. And that you have to step up and take responsibility. You can't just cheat people out of their money and run away like Snidely Whiplash, twiddling your
mustache around.
Your mustache.
Now, see, this is very hopeful to see out of Kickstarter, because you think about it, in the long run, Kickstarter has only been around a handful of years, but now they're trying to police this better because they're seeing that more than just your average Joe Schmo is using this to launch projects with. This is this site has so much potential that they see we need to protect it. We need to protect the people backing it, because we see that this is growing and evolving, and the projects that are coming to us to get funded are growing and evolving, and we got to make sure that we keep these people happy. And that's an excellent thing to see out of them after so long, or after so little amount of time, I should say.
Yeah, and really it's a good time for it too, because apparently Kickstarter just crossed this $1 billion mark in pledges over the lifetime of
that's
Kickstarter.
A total, right?
Yeah, out of everybody's projects overall, if you combine everything ever collected on Kickstarter ever, it amounts to over $1 billion.
$1 billion. That's incredible.
Yeah, and also consider the amount of money that Kickstarter is making off of that, because Kickstarter scrapes a little bit of that cost off the top.
Right.
So, Kickstarter's, they're kind of banking it by now.
Because you think about it, they were launched back in 2009. It's only been 5 years and they made $1 billion.
Well, they've
run through $1 billion, I should say.
Yeah, they've exchanged $1 billion from between hands.
And that's amazing, considering it's 135,000 projects over the course of 5 years. You don't see hardly any other production company in any way, shape, or form pushing those kind of numbers, those kind of projects out. These people put their music projects, their film projects, their art projects on here, and it's not major companies funding them, it's us. It's us saying, you know what? I want to play that game. I want to watch that movie. I want to listen to that soundtrack. And then they put out, and then we get something out of it.
That question that you always heard on the internet, why are we not funding this? Now you have that option. And again, it's a fantastic option for things that people legitimately want to see, but major studios of different varieties are too big and have their heads too far stuck up their butts to know what people actually want. You got a fantastic option with crowdfunding. And again, Kickstarter implementing further regulations on, hey, don't be a dick and don't just pull out of your projects without giving your backers any explanation. It's fantastic for maintaining this opportunity for more things like it to
I'll parlay
started.
that into some of the comments here. People saying, why aren't we funding this or fund this, now have a site to go to. Mm-hmm. But now people can't take advantage of people who are just like, shut up and take my money.
That's true.
To put it in simple enough terms. Because, yeah, you want to fund that stuff, but, like, say I put my money in towards an action figure line that you guys are creating that doesn't exist out there. Like, hypothetically, let's say I want funding for the Symbionic Titan toy line that we all wanted that got the dang thing canceled in the first place. Because it didn't exist. Alright, I'm making it. If I put in my $25, I want to at least get back a flyer. I want to at least get back something. If I put in, like, the $300 level like some do, I want to be able to get my line of figures. But if you can't deliver that to me, either give me my money back or you take up woodshop and give me something.
Yeah.
And now, like, remember we were saying the other day about Dremel's coming out with that new wide-use 3D printer now?
Yeah, it's so cool.
Now, you don't have an excuse not to be able to give me something. You can take whatever you've got and use it towards giving me something. Because if I put the money down, I should be getting something for it. Equivalent exchange. It's a thing.
But not the way you think it's a thing.
No, it is. It always is. Always has been.
I'm done with this.
Alright, I'm done with this. Okay, so yeah, just in time to work on the next story. So, Gotham. Alright, that was the story. No, okay, we'll talk about it. Okay, so we saw Monday night that Fox premiered the long-touted first episode of Gotham.
Which we've been talking about, it's coming for quite some time now.
And now we have reports to come in. They're coming out with a 95% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes from that first episode. That's impressive numbers, considering most people are brutally honest on Rotten Tomatoes. On top of that, they got 8 million viewers and got in that key demographic, that 18 to 49 demographic where most people have disposable income and influence.
It helps that it's a universe about Batman, whether he's Batman yet or not. And Batman is just like, everybody friggin' knows Batman. There might have been a time, like, of course everybody knows Superman too, but I really think that America has kind of switched from the all-American Boy Scout Superman kind of image to, oh my god, Batman is so friggin' cool.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's been this transition, kind of in the same way that, that America no longer embraces baseball the way it once did, and instead it's moved probably either to basketball or football.
I was gonna say pro wrestling.
Pro-res? Pro-res.
Pro-resi.
That's how they say pro wrestling in Japan. I'm serious.
But yeah, you see the transition over there, and people are saying, oh, it's amazing, you gotta watch it, and if you didn't get the chance to watch it Monday night, it's up on Fox's website, it's up on Hulu, you can go ahead and do it that way. You know, it should be there for a while. And the question, of course, remains, well, are they gonna keep these numbers, and are they gonna get picked up for Season 2, and will it be worth it?
But you're saying these numbers pretty much secure a Season 2 right off the bat.
For some series such as this, people would say yes. You know, you think back a year ago to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They did so well in their first 3 episodes, they were like, no, we're giving you guys Season 2. Don't even worry about it. You got it. And, of course, you know, they're getting their numbers out because, again, they're also helped out by good writing, a good cast, and, of course, the whole series being cemented into the cinematic universe. This is a story that, while everybody knows it, in essence, it's still not a story everybody is familiar with, you know, the years that most people skip past. Because the first 5 minutes of Gotham are the first 5 minutes everybody knows. You know, there was that whole...
I felt like it happened too fast.
Well, yeah, I would have preferred that happened at the end of the episode. That way we have something to build up to.
Mm-hmm.
And...
Because we didn't get to see a relationship hardly between Bruce and his parents at all.
No, not at all. And the thing about it is... Yeah, this is a series set in the Batman universe with no Batman, and there's not going to be a Batman, which of course, like I think I've said this before, harkens back to Smallville. It's a series about Superman that will have no Superman.
Mm-hmm.
But will give you as many hints as possible until it's so annoying you pray to God that we got rid of it.
Well, I'm a little bit concerned it's already reached that territory, and it's only been episode 1. Yeah.
Well, why would you say that?
Well, okay, because I was here to watch it on premiere night, right?
Right.
And, like, immediately right off the bat, like, I don't think I'm spoiling too much by saying Catwoman's there immediately. I'm just gonna freaking call her Catwoman, because, yeah, it's Selena Kyle, and she's not Catwoman yet, but she sure is acting like a Catwoman. And
well, yeah, because she's
then
there...
she steals a jug of milk, and then it immediately has no milk in it, and... that's just semantics right there.
That's semantics, but that's something you think a series with this much clout behind it. They've got WB money and Fox money working together. You'd think they'd have the continuity guys say, hey, you know what? When she because this isn't spoilers. You guys can see it in the first 5 minutes, and the first 5 minutes aren't spoiler because we all know Bruce Wayne's parents die. She steals that jug of milk, and it's full when she steals it, but then right when she pours it, after she pulls it out of her jacket, it's got that much in it. How did that happen? Because we didn't see her drink it, and you see it's full when she pulls it out, and then empty when she pours it. What the hell? But anyway, that's besides the point.
That really is besides the point. I'm just saying, like, in episode 1, they have to make sure that you see, oh, well, we've got Catwoman, and we've got the Riddler, and we've got the Penguin, and we've got Poison Ivy. Stop! You don't need to show me every single Batman villain in episode 1. I know there's more than just those guys.
But it's also the whole thing of... Granted, there's some things I liked about the episode, and there's things I didn't like about the episode. Part of it being kind of what you're mentioning here, and I'll try and stay as clear of spoilers for you guys as possible. One of the problems that it feels like is that, yeah, it feels like we're watching less of the beginning of a series so much as a parade of characters across the screen. Like, hey, comic people, you know this character? They're here. You know this character? They're here. You see this guy? You know what he's gonna become. And it's like, no, give me a story. Give me something I can hook onto.
In the case of the Penguin, I'll only say this much, and it's that I feel like he immediately became the Penguin already. He just hasn't become fat yet. And I'm thinking, well, what do we have to look forward to over the storytelling course of the next 10 to 15 years? What? There's nothing left to look forward to for his story development. There's not. I'm sorry. I don't care how intriguing he'll get. He's already the Penguin.
Because even the producers and some of the actors themselves were hyping, oh, he's going to be such a good... People are going to be so amazed. It's a revelation of the character. Like, the guy playing Gordon says that about it, and I'm like, no, he's not. No, because you break it down, and it's like, no, he's playing him as this kind of a suck-up character who aspires to be the king of the hill, essentially. And he's gonna get there by any means necessary, but that doesn't make me want to watch him. Because really, even though this is set in his Batman's universe, the story's mainly about Gordon.
Yeah.
And how he's gonna deal with all of this stuff.
About cleaning up Gotham the right way and trying to find Bruce Wayne's parents' killers.
Well, and that's the thing about it, and Nash brought this up in a post on Tumblr, and I actually agree a lot with what he said. It's the fact of the matter that, yeah, this is a prequel series, but we already know everything that happens now. It's like, Smallville, you had enough side characters that people weren't necessarily aware of, that they were the interesting ones. Like, you go for Clark, you stay around for Pete or Chloe, the characters you don't know, but they're played by good actors, and they give the series a sense of reality, of depth, and warmth to it. Whereas here, where all the characters surrounding Bruce Wayne are villains and cops and things like that, people that more of the mass populace know about, we already know, oh, well, that's going to be Penguin, that's going to be Catwoman, there's a chance that guy's going to be the Joker. Like, we know where they're going to end up, so it's like, why do you want to watch by that point? Because we're just starting off, and the more you think about it, it's like, do we want to sit through this, or don't we?
Right now, I didn't see anything in episode 1 that had me hanging on. It really... Again, it's just episode 1. Well, sometimes it takes a few episodes to catch on.
You think about it this way. If you've seen Batman Begins, you already know half this stuff as it is. Like again, Batman lore. Who killed Bruce Wayne's parents? Joe Chill.
Sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes it's an unnamed guy. If you're going by most canon, it's Joe Chill. So when they're out looking for him, it's like, well, when they find a guy with that name, it was him. Mm-hmm. You know, because they're not just going to throw that in there. And I'll say this much for the series. It looks beautiful.
Oh,
it
sure.
looks the way you imagine Gotham should look. Because my problem with the Nolan trilogy was that, yeah, he was trying to set it in the real world, but don't call Chicago Gotham when it's obviously still Chicago.
Yeah,
you know?
I guess so.
Because we were watching, Doom 3, and it's like, no, I'm not going to mistake the city in Doom 3 for Gotham. No, it's still Chicago. So, no, Batman, as far as the Nolan universe is concerned, no, Batman takes place in Chicago. That's how I see that. Because you're not going to tell me that Chicago exists elsewhere and looks exactly the same as Gotham.
I don't know. You don't know that. It's a fictional city.
I'm just saying. But, so, you think about that. They've got all this hype, really, because they've been hyping this thing for months. That, oh, we're gonna give you guys villains, we're gonna give you guys names. But the thing is, there has to be, I guess I want to kind of say finesse to it. Don't just blatantly put it in my face. Hey, guess what? This character who's a little girl with red hair and standing next to a plant, you guess who she's gonna be? Huh? Oh, you can't figure it out? We'll make it easier and rename her more obviously who she's gonna be. No, don't do that.
Yeah, it's really kind of pandering.
It is kind of pandering in a way, and at the same time, it's not just pandering, it's like dumbing down, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, I would expect a Batman story, because, you know, people bring it up here in the chat, too. Batman the Animated Series took this comic material that was shown specifically to kids from, like, the 5-year-old to 12-year-old age range, and told stories and characters in a way that appealed to all ages.
That's very true.
Why can't this show do the same?
Maybe it's gonna get there.
I can only hope. I really can only hope. Because at the least, part of me sees the good in it. Because some performances are actually fairly decent.
Yeah, like, I didn't think that anybody's acting was especially bad, other than the fact that they didn't know what was the word that they kept using incorrectly. Lackadaisical.
It's lackadaisical, but he keeps saying lackadaisical.
Yeah, they say it 3 times.
Yeah, so, you know, whatever. But it's the thing about it. You can tell these stories in such a way that it makes people want to go, yeah, what happens next? What happens next? That's what they need to get at.
Even if you know that eventually Bruce Wayne's gonna become Batman, and Selina Kyle's gonna become Catwoman, blah, blah, blah. These are things you already know, but if you're at the edge of your seat going, yeah, but what happens next to put them there?
Yeah, that's what I want to care about.
It's just kind of like, specifically in the case of the Penguin, I'm not wondering that from episode 1.
Yeah, like you've taken his arc and you've given it to me in this nice little box with a penguin on it. And it's like, no, like, they were saying they don't want to do that, but from the way they've set up episode 1 and the preview for episode 2, this is my guess for what the series is going to do. More likely than not, they're going to have to bank the success on this series not on Penguin, not on Catwoman, not even on Bruce or Gordon. They're going to have to bank the series on a character we know is going to become Joker. They're going to have to push that, because that's the only guessing game they've got for us. Because no matter where you read, the Joker story changes from book to book, from movie to movie. He could be anybody. unless you go with kind of the story they do in The Killing Joke. That's the only thing that's the only hardcore major thing that's canon they can push of, hey, see this guy, he's getting pushed over the edge by stuff in Gotham. Not unlike Bruce, but it's kind of like, well, what's really going to push him over the edge, you know? And then kind of play that off, what's happening with Gordon and what's happening with Bruce. Because dealing with Bruce, we hardly saw Bruce in this whole episode. It's about his parents' murder, and we know...
Well, we all already knew that it was going to be about Lieutenant Gordon.
Well, no, he's detective here. He hasn't even made lieutenant yet.
Yeah.
But you see what I'm saying here? Like, with Bruce, it's like, I wish they would spend more time with him dealing with, like, man, how do I feel about this? What do I do with this anger? Instead, we get kind of little hints of he's not quite right after this.
While we focus on Gordon. And even then, Gordon's so one note that I don't care. He is kind of like, yeah, I'm the hard detective that goes out and does the right thing because I was in the military and I know what the right thing is for America.
Or, yeah, something like that. Whereas you compare it to Bob Hastings in the animated series, or hell, even Gary Oldman, who I thought was probably one of the best, if not the best Gordon we've ever had. He gives this layered performance of a man who's been beaten down by that, but we still see a bit of, you know, I was optimistic once, but really, they're going to have to sell how much Gordon's expectations get knocked down and make us want to watch that. In kind of the same way they did it with, like, Breaking Bad. You know, you see a guy who's hopeful that he can pay for his medical bills to deal with this disease he's dealing with, but as much as he's trying to fix things, he keeps getting knocked down and knocked down and knocked down. They need to try and emulate that level of depth for that character. Otherwise, who's gonna care? Because I don't want to watch a series where for four seasons I'm watching a girl dressed as Catwoman, the only thing she's missing is the ears.
Very true.
I don't want to watch a series where Penguin just isn't fat. I don't want to watch a series where Nigma, the only thing he's missing is the bowler hat and wearing green. Like, because that's what they seem to be presenting us with. I don't know that I want that. I don't know if they're going to be able to trick audiences into wanting that. They need more. That's what I'm saying now.
But will you keep watching to see if they give you more?
See, that's the problem. I kind of have to see whether or not they do. And that's the thing. That still gives them ratings, and they still end up finding out. I mean, finding out that somebody watched, and it's like, to them...
Well, we're still making money.
Yeah, so what are you going to do?
Because advertisers are still paying for this time slot.
So, as it stands, you know, next Monday, another episode out, and it'll probably be up on Hulu as well. So, if you guys haven't watched, it's not a bad show. I just think it's got a lot of growing to do. And I don't necessarily see the early evidence of that.
I would agree. Alright, so, with our finale here, I do want to talk a little bit about Tetsuya Nomura. He, of course, we found out this past week through the Tokyo Game Show that he left the Final Fantasy 15 project in order to focus more on Kingdom Hearts 3. And I recall last year's Tokyo Game Show, I believe it was, or E3, one of the two, I'm not sure which, where they unveiled, yep, Kingdom Hearts 3, it's still a thing, we're still doing it, and they kind of showed, like, a couple new enemies, but it was still old, like, Kingdom Hearts 2 music and Kingdom Hearts 2 costumes and stuff like that, so really it didn't seem very new at all.
Right.
So from this interview with Tetsuya Nomura, basically, he says just about that, because
the thing about it is he didn't opt to go to that project.
No, what he tells in this interview is that it was a decision from the higher-ups within the company, and that's all I can say about it right now. It was a company decision, that's all I can say about it right now. So he was yanked away from Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, because we can read between the lines. We're not dumb.
Yeah, he was yanked away from Final Fantasy 15 in order to focus on Kingdom Hearts 3. And there is a Kingdom Hearts 3 intro teaser, which actually I still need to watch, that is stuck at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2.5 HD Remix, which will be coming out pretty shortly. And all it really did for people was not necessarily make them want Kingdom Hearts 2.5 HD Remix. They want Kingdom Hearts 3, like they've been promised for years. So the question came to him, and I don't know if it was presented this way, but it's the idea of, so how far along is Kingdom Hearts 3 exactly?
Because by this point, people want some glimmer of hope. You are working on it, right? You've got something to give us. Give us something.
Yeah, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm working on it. So, like, I'm working on level design and the choosing of the worlds. Oh, also the costume designs of Sora and Riku.
So you're at the beginning.
So you're at the beginning of the damn game of production.
That is not what I need to hear right now. No.
These two games, it's like these are your two biggest franchises. Well, next to Dragon Quest.
As far as Square Enix is concerned.
Yeah, as far as the Square side of Square Enix is concerned, and I'm not talking about their appropriation of, like, IDOS and other such companies that they've eaten up over the years. In-house production, Square side, Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy are their two powerhouse franchises. And it's like, we're promising the big main series are coming up, and they've been promising it to us for pushing 10 years now, the two of these games. Kingdom Hearts 3, a little less time than Final Fantasy 15. But neither one of them is really quite ready over all these years. That's kind of abysmal. I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of abysmal.
I don't know if it's too much to say that we're getting to Exodus levels of stuff being put off. You know, they're saying, you know, you're gonna have to make this game, but with less people working on it. And all the time gamers are out there like, let my video game go. Like, it's going on like that until somebody has to go in there and liberate whatever they've got on 15 or on Kingdom Hearts 3. Like, how long do they plan to stretch this out for?
Until
I was in high school still when they were talking about the next Kingdom Hearts game.
And then they kept putting out spin-off after spin-off after spin-off, and some of them are okay, but it's like, it's not what anybody actually wants.
Yeah.
You know, I honestly hardly care about any
I like this here in the chat. Kingdom Hearts 3 Dream Drop development hell. I like it.
I do like that one. Which, the removal of Tetsuya Nomura, and I never thought I would reach a day where I said, man, I'm not sure that was a good idea.
That Nomura got removed.
Because, okay, I don't especially like Tetsuya Nomura as a director. I think that he has made some fantastic character designs. He's an amazing monster designer.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what he was doing long before they put him on
character design.
On character design, long before they made him a producer, and long before they made him a director. Like, I think that really putting him as the director of Final Fantasy VII Advent Children was really like, I am now God. Like, he was in control.
Like, it went to his
head.
I
do the monsters. I do the character designs.
No.
I do the battle development.
No.
I direct everything. And I make people do things that they technically shouldn't be able to do, not because they can just do it, but because I just think it looks cool. Like, he almost literally says those words.
No, I remember the interview where he says that.
And that just makes me so mad. But he, at least, from what I understand...
But at least he had the credentials to say, hey, at least I worked on these Final Fantasies.
Well, yeah, that's one thing, and then for another, he was farther along in Final Fantasy 15 than we are now. I believe a statistic I read at some point, and somebody might have to correct me, but when he was working on it, the game was at like 80% completion for what that was.
Right.
Now that he's gone, and now that the new director, Tabata, is
on the project.
Or Tabita, whichever his name is. Tabata, I was right the first time. Hajime Tabata. Now it's back down to 55% completion.
Like,
that's... some people were arguing, no, it's 55% complete from when he first got on the project in 2012. What does that mean? Does that mean, yes, now it's... That still sounds like that's 50 to 55% complete. 50 to 55% more complete than what it was? What does that mean?
Like, when you're screwing with percentages like that, like, no, if someone else is working on it, or if somebody leaves the project, the number should never go down. Yeah. Is basically what we're saying here. But if you're at 50, the next thing I need to hear from you is either 51 or higher.
But,
you don't go from 80 to 50. That's bad.
But we're learning that Tabata himself has all these really weird friggin' ideals for it.
Like, have you guys heard about this stuff? Like, I'm normally not you're the Final Fantasy fan. You're the Final Fantasy fan. I'm the Kamen Rider fan. But hearing about this stuff, even I'm like, what the hell is this mess?
Because at least when Tetsuya Nomura was on the project, the idea was we're going to make it be more like a more realistic looking version of the Kingdom Hearts battle engine, in which it's an action RPG.
Right.
And, you know, typically I don't identify with Final Fantasy being an action RPG. I imagine it more like you're going through menus, you maybe have an active time battle system, and that's fine, because people are like, oh, you're just pressing one button to attack anyway. Well, yeah, maybe if you're in early stages, or... you know, minimalistic monsters, but boss fights, no, you have to do all kinds of crazy maintenance among 3 to 4 or more party members, doing all kinds of different things, like somebody's got to be using the magic, somebody's got to be using items, somebody's got to be doing physical attacks, and you have to do...
Somebody's got to heal.
Somebody's got to do all this maintenance. You do all this menu maintenance, and it's its own kind of hectic, menu surfing, you know, especially
that's the appeal of the game,
especially if you're using active time as opposed to putting it on wait, where once you get to go through your battle commands, the monster just sits there and waits for you to make a choice. But if you put it on active, oh, he's gonna whoop your ass regardless of whether you're looking through your item box or not.
Right.
But Tabata, his idea is, yeah, we're still gonna make it this action RPG where, like, when you think action RPG, you might think maybe, I don't know, Devil May Cry, or you might think Bayonetta, you know, same idea, same principle, where it's very, I've got to do all these really smart things in order to pull things off. But what he wants, and he says that this is because, hey guys, look, I'm not getting any younger, that's almost literally what he's saying. I don't want to have to be frantically pressing buttons. I want things to be a very simple, press a button, you do a thing, like one command.
One button gaming.
Basically, yes. Now, that's not necessarily to say that you don't have to, like, press a different button to dodge than you do to attack or something. Like, your buttons might still be mapped, but it's like, to dodge, you're just holding a button. You see it in the fight footage. You're just holding this button in order to, like, auto-dodge things, rather than actively going, oh crap, I have to, like, roll out of the way. Allow me to move out of the way of this monster. And he specifically says he wants to make it more casual. He's like, well, the depth of the game's gonna be there, but I want to make it so players can easily experience the satisfaction of the depth of the game. What depth? Like, this had better be the most amazing Final Fantasy story I have seen in more than 10 years, because right now Final Fantasy XIV is doing a good enough job, and I don't think that Final Fantasy 15 is gonna beat it.
Well, because basically what he's saying is, the guy making the game, am getting too old, therefore everybody else will apply the same way that it applies to me. So if I don't want to push a lot of buttons, nobody's going to push a lot of buttons. Boom, one button attacks. He talks about, you know, the driving. Yeah, people are going to want to drive the car, but we're going to kind of have it on autopilot. Don't worry about it.
He says specifically, I personally prefer the autopilot so I can just kind of look around.
Well, you know what? Screw you, man. I want to drive.
And you can drive, but he's like, yeah, but if you have it too realistic, then we'd have to work on all of these, like, driving mechanics. Like, he says this crap.
No, like, he said that.
I can't even believe that this is what I'm hearing. And
he said, I understand just that phrase right there. I don't want to put more into driving because then that means we have to do work.
Yeah.
Like, how on earth did Square Enix put the laziest AARP old man on this project?
And I've seen pictures of the guy. He really doesn't look all that old. He can't be that much. If he's 50, that, like, I can't hardly tell. He's got to be only within the 40s, 50s. And there are video game developers way older than him. You know, it's funny, I can't find his age anywhere, no matter how hard I look.
Yeah, but the way he talks, what is he, 60, 65?
He does not look that old. No,
No, this guy looks like he's no more than 40. No friggin' way. And he's talking about, well, I'm getting older.
I'm getting older. A lot of our gamers who have been waiting for this game are getting older.
Like,
they just want to experience it. They don't actually want to play it.
Bro, can I talk to you for a second? Can I talk to you for a second? All right, if you've got arthritis coming in, my heart goes out to you. I am so sorry, but we can get some Bengay on that and get you right as rain. Everybody else doesn't have that problem. We don't mind hitting buttons. We like hitting buttons. That's why we made a thing so we can hit buttons on.
Yeah, it's like Square Enix has had this problem as of these past few games where they're like, man, sure wish we could make a movie. And I'm sitting here going, oh, you just wish you could make a movie because you tried that once and it failed really, really hard. Like really theatrical release. I'm talking Final Fantasy The Spirits Within. And then they still want to make movies really bad, but they're too scared to try again. And so they find this nice middle ground where really it's more like an interactive novel.
Yeah, because when you take away all the freedom of choice there, it's the way he's making it sound is, you know what, I want games to be the way games were when I was a little kid. We used to pay 5 cents and go out and play the video games, and the video games would play themselves. You mean a movie? Is that what you're talking about? Because what you're describing is a movie.
Because he's saying he wants it to be casual. That way it can garner the broadest possible audience because he is dedicated to Final Fantasy 15 outselling any other Final Fantasy ever. And I'm like, you cannot seriously hold this high horse and think you're going to beat Final Fantasy 7 in sales of physical copies of the game, or Final Fantasy 11 in how much revenue they've gained in subscriptions, because, believe it or not, Final Fantasy 11 has actually earned more money than Final Fantasy 7 has. But that's because
of subscription money.
That's because of subscription money over the course of over a decade. But then he's got all these other really wild ideas, like, and they're not necessarily Final Fantasy related, but he wants to make video games for seniors. Like, okay, if you want to do that, go do that away from Final Fantasy, please. And then he wants to make a Final Fantasy that is based in historical reality, such as the American Civil War. He quotes the American Civil War, and I'm sitting here going, I can't imagine, like, the North decides they need to summon Bahamut on the South.
And then the South decides to summon Ifrit back at it. Like, what?
I can't comprehend that.
Like, dude, the whole historical thing for America, that's Assassin's Creed territory. That's Ubisoft, you're Square. Get it right. No!
And then, add on top of that, yes, it's going to have a very road trip movie feel. He has confirmed this. Very much, road trip movie feel. Also, all male characters, no female playable characters at
Didn't
all.
we just have this problem back at E3?
Now, granted, it's not exactly the first time it's been done. Final Fantasy 1 was all male. That was back in 1986. And Final Fantasy 3's original Famicom version was an all-male cast.
And how long ago was that?
And also they updated Final Fantasy 3 so that they included a chick. So
I'm saying, like, if for certain 3 was the last time they did it, why would he go back? Especially now.
I don't know. Hasn't been an all-dude party since the 80s.
And
been
just
more than 20 years.
And just to kind of wrap up the section, because we're almost out of time.
Basically out of time.
As such, after that trailer got released, the internet has gone crazy making fun of that trailer, putting those 4 guys in the car in various different spots all over Japan, having them look
staring at random crap because they're just yeah, I really like this initial D image.
Yeah, I'll put the link for you guys there, but it's not looking good for Square as far as I'm concerned. It's just not.
Yeah.
Because these decisions can't possibly turn out good. It just can't.
But yes, it was 1987, not 1986. I was a year off. That's all right. We are definitely way over time, so we need to stop now. And
it doesn't matter. It's season finale.
Season finale, whatever. But
yeah.
For that reason, I want to thank you guys so much for being out here with us on our season finale night. We'll be back live with you guys in 4 weeks on October 30th at 9 p.m. Central Time. I want to see you guys in your costumes. Tweet them at us. I'm at Mars Girl.
And I'm at Josh Knight First.
For all of that, what else do we need to say before we go?
Thank you guys for coming out. We'll be making sure to tweet about other things we do over the course of the break, and we're definitely going to give you guys updates on the projects we're working on. There's still going to be other videos coming out. We'll still stream stuff from time to time.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we're still going to be busy.
And as soon as we come back, we will let you guys know. So for Season 3, we're going to sign off.
Yep. Thanks for hanging out with us, you guys. We'll see you next season. Good night.